All right, welcome to our section here, our Python primer. And really the purpose of this section is for people that are new to Python, maybe intermediate even Python developers that want to just make sure that something hasn't slipped through the cracks. Now, this is no mean an advanced Python course. If you already know Python well, this course could bore you. This section could. This is for people that haven't programmed in Python before. Maybe they haven't even programmed at all before, if they're a brand new programmer and never programmed before. So we're going to start at some of the basics in Python right from where we left off in the previous section, so you can follow along, and there's no reason why anybody should get lost. And so what we're going to do is we're going to just break out and start with a real simple Python application. And so I can Control C because we're not going to use Odoo for this part of the Python primer. It's going to be just real simple Python. We're going to go into our custom add-ons directory, and we have a module in there, but for our Python tutorial, we're just going to make a Python script that we can just add to and test out a little bit. And I am going to do another terminal. See if I can do, it's probably easier just to do it here, just do a new terminal. That's another way to get a new terminal. And we're going to go cd Odoo 9 / custom add-ons. Oh, and I didn't get it right. And I shouldn't have done the front slash. That tells it to go back to the very, very, very beginning of our directory. We just want without the front slash. So I'm saying go to Odoo directory, go to Odoo 9, and then go to custom add-ons. So now I'm in the same folder as I am here. I'm just in the same place. And one I'm going to use to run my app, and one I'll use to just make changes and edit it. So it'll just make it a little easier for us to quickly see what's going on using our same tools that we're familiar with. And since this is the one we're running, we'll make this the one we're running. So let's nano, and we'll just call this Python tutorial. Now there's other Python tutorials out there. This one is just going to be kind of a quick one that's going to show you some of the basics of Python. We already learned what comments are, so we can comment any code this way, so we can say what we want. One of the things that you'll use frequently when debugging, especially if you don't have access to like a real-time debugger, is to use like print statements to print things out. And we're going to use that right now to really kind of see what's going on underneath. It'll be our primary way to look at some of the Python functions and some of the things we'll do. So let's just start out with that simple print hello world. And I'm just going to write that out this way. Now, if I go here and I ls, I can see it right there. And I can just say Python tutorial.py. And notice how it writes out hello world there. So that's all I have to do. Now, let me try this. Just see if I say Python tutorial.py. Permission denied. So you notice how I didn't have permission to execute it, but I did have permission to just use the Python interpreter, which is fine for what we're doing. So there it is, hello world. And I can hit up arrow to keep seeing it. And clear is a command that's kind of handy if you just want to clear out your screen. So clear is just a little handy thing inside of your Ubuntu terminal. All right, so I'm just printing out hello world. So this is not much of a Python program, but it's important to know how to print things. And we can also do some calculations like that. So we can say print 10 times 2, for example. And if I Control O here to save, I can just jump here and run it. And so now notice we got a hello world and a 20. Now, one of the very first things you're going to want in any app, or programming language is you're going to want to learn how to do a simple variable. So a simple variable might be And I gotta get on my right thing here. So I'll say message equals hello world. And then rather than printing out hello world, I'll say print message. And if I go up here and just like comment this out, I have to go to the front. So now this won't run, and I'll actually put an exclamation point so you can see the difference. And we'll Control O to save it, and then jump back over here. And now notice we have hello world exclamation point. And it's because we're saved in this variable. So this is like every other programming language has variables to hold things that we can then reuse or act upon. So just like with this number up here, I could say, let's see, amount equals, and it's now going to take this 10 times 2 and put it into amount, and I could say print amount. Control O to save, and I just up arrow, and I can see now we still got our 20, but the print is from variable. So we've transferred from printing out what these are sometimes called in development circles literals, literally printing out 10 times 2, are literally printing out the strings. Now we're saving them in variables and then printing them out. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. One of the things I should point out is that I can't do this, and this will be our first error, and you should get used to seeing errors when I up arrow this and run it. Notice it says here, cannot concatenate str and int objects. So what does that mean? Str means this is a string, and int means this is an integer when it multiplied this 10 times 2. So what happens if I do this, just out of curiosity, and then rerun it? Notice how it changed from saying string and int objects to string and float, because now we've got a decimal place. But regardless, it can't add this string and this float. So one of the clues here is to what we can do to convert this data for us is this str. I can put this str around amount. And what that does is that turns this amount into a string. And I'll put a little colon in there so that we can see a space before it then puts the amount that we have here into a string for us. And then we can just come down here and get rid of this print amount, because the message is going to have hello world, hey, and it's going to print out this amount in this string. So let's go ahead, save it, and run it, and there it is. Hey, and we got our 23. There's no errors, so I can type clear and run it. No errors. Okay, so that tells you a little bit about variables, the types, numbers versus text. Let's look at a condition. So a condition is like an if statement. Now, every language has some kind of conditional statement, and what it does, it just lets you make decisions based upon certain things. So if I type if amount is greater than 50, and then I put a colon, I can now have something that would say, print the amount is greater than 50. And so we're going to get rid of some of our other print messages. We'll just comment them out. But let's make our amount higher so we are over 50. So now this amount's going to be over 50 when it hits this if statement. So it won't print this if it's under 50. So we'll save it, and we'll jump over here and run. And you'll notice it says the amount is greater than 50. So what happens if the amount isn't greater than 50? What if we make the amount just less than 50? Watch what happens. Nothing. So I'm running it again. We don't get anything, and that makes sense because look, we only have something if it's greater than 50. So let's see how we can change that. That's where we can learn our else statement, and we use else and a colon. Again, this is just syntax. Python uses the colon to determine that you're at, in the end of your if statement. Now, a very important thing in Python, if you're getting errors, you always have to have the right indentations. So notice if I go here and I just have one space, and then I come over here, I get an error, expected an indented block. You have to have exactly 4 spaces. Python enforces you to have proper indentation. So there, I'm still off. Expected indented block. So what's the easiest way? 1, 2, 3, 4. Control O. Oh, and then I also have to have something after this. Print the amount is less than, or it could be equal to 50. So we'll save that, run it again, and now it says the amount misspelled is less than or equal to 50 because our amount is less. So that is the very first part of our primer. We're going to now, in the next lecture, get into a little bit more advanced Python functions. This is very basic. You're just printing out. Learned a little bit about variables. Learned a little bit about if statements and conditions. Now in our next video, we're going to look a little bit at sets and looping and some of the other things that come with the Python language.